5998. Can you see that?
I can see that.
So, Dr. Baumia, it is not true when you try to suggest that an exhibit with that number has been provided to this court. It is not true in the terms that are indicated now by you.
This is what I'm saying, that what you are showing is that there was a mislabeling of this exhibit number. But the bottom line is that you have 2 polling stations, Catholic, GSS, Prestia, Funeral Grounds, Nakaba, for which the same serial number was used. And that is a malpractice. That is not in dispute. We can relabel these properly.
Dr. Baumia, this is an example of your dishonesty to this court. Because, Dr. Baumia, there is an exhibit that you have attached to your affidavit. It's exhibit 5998 with a certain polling station. Now, you're giving a different polling station that exhibit number, which is already in evidence.
Well,
that's what you're doing.
There is an error, but there is no dishonesty. If you want to be honest with the court, let us put down my analysis. If you are not afraid of the truth, let us put down my analysis and show me one repeated polling station in my analysis. If you are afraid of the truth, then of course you will hide behind these exhibit numbers.
Dr. Baumia, I'm sorry.
It's not a free fight. Just state your answer to it without any bukum blows.
Yeah, but my lord, with the greatest respect, I do not think we can treat this lightly. This witness is claiming that I am afraid of the truth. I'm asking him questions. He's not answering them. He's showing his dishonesty blatantly. I'm not afraid of the truth. What bothers me is the dishonesty of this witness, my lords. And this witness cannot just be allowed to go on making statements. You are afraid of.
Yeah, and that's why I called him to order on that point. Just. I don't know. Don't fight the battle beyond its confines, you see. Each side can present its case, to the court as per the procedure of the court.
I conclude with prophetic words that were spoken centuries ago. For they sow the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. These are the words of the prophet Hosea, to be found in Hosea chapter 8, verse 7.
All right, episode for 1 hour with Munufi, and we did say, Ubia Hoye. How Dr. Baumia failed to answer questions being posed onto him by learned colleague Tsatsu Tsikata. Now, remember, show was because petitioners and actual petition at Chief Justice Torkornoo. Tsatsu Tsikata represented one of them. Now, the moment I saw such a Tsatsu Tsikata was part of it, me who said Chief Justice Torkornoo, it began. Some people were doubting me. Maybe you show we be can say Chief Justice Torkornoo is through Tsatsu Tsikata and Obedwane. And then I wasn't surprised. I made that team and he said Chief Justice Torkornoo adjourned to the Supreme Court to go and tell them that the Supreme Court should halt the proceedings in international. The patcho T in 70 years. Chief Justice Torkornoo adjourned to Supreme Court say Supreme Court and halt committee in any proceedings na no. Say ye public. Chief Justice Torkornoo ene ono ankasa adwane akowura Supreme Court. But this is 1 hour with Monofie medi any William Monofie amankona. Jazz photos, Charlie. We are using no bon komo meto nka jazz. You nim komo na we around there what at my house. It's Chief Justice Torkornoo who said Tsatsu Tsikata was so pay or say, man, pay be a nya Tsatsu be gum anim ase. Enti the latest news a graphic online the by say Chief Justice Torkornoo akọ Supreme Court say Supreme Court and hold to committee na adwuma na yeye no. Na Supreme Court and check the president say president ntimi ma ye proceedings be against her. Sempo ye be kwa na ye the public no be anhwe bi, not in camera. Na Chief Justice Torkornoo mamenkan nsema o de court ni bi. Enti enne amena o ka say 21st of May 2025 Chief Justice Torkornoo da bia ye ka say Chief Justice Torkornoo NPP ni o kan na bi mu chinje. Chief Justice Torkornoo ekoduru court a dem ko hwese ne lawyer or representing o Supreme Court no hwan. The Chief Justice na wote Ghana ho no oso ne Ghana kakaraka no oni lawyer bia say Ura Godfred Dame former Attorney General and Chief Justice Torkornoo a lawyer. And was say Torkornoo is seeking a declaration from the Supreme Court to the effect that President John Mahama's determination of a prima facie case against her was arbitrary, capricious, in violations of the right of the plaintiff to a fair trial and therefore unconstitutional, void and of no effect. Chief Justice Torkornoo said no, Pacho Nyame na Mayaka. Follow the argument here. Again, she is seeking an order seeking to set aside her suspension by the president and a declaration that she has the right to public hearing of the petition against her. She is seeking another declaration that upon a true and proper interpretation of various provisions of the Constitution, she has the privileges to waive the hearing of the petition against her in camera. And to see Chief Justice say, court and bar President Mahama say, "Ontimin saken, ontimin yenefi, o man entena ho Chief Justice." I say, "Papa busia ajapade." Ebiem, yema the president and TS say, "Ono all right." And right ni bi ni say, "Si yebedi na semu pa na say yebeti na sema yentie ne public but not in camera." And all right to public hearing. Now the words of this Chief Justice ne say, case na yeda koma president based on Article 146 president atie badwa for say ntemu no or say a arbitrary, a capricious, a in violation of the right of the plaintiff to a fair trial and therefore unconstitutional, void and of no effect. Now say Chief Justice say Bajana constitution share president inteno or say a unconstitutional. Na ba bi me nwanwa kese pa me betloso kan kire. Other reliefs Chief Justice in the copy of Supreme Court and say other reliefs being sought by the Chief Justice Torkornoo are orders prohibiting Justice Gabriel Scott Puamang, the chairman of the 5-member committee, probing the petition, and Justice Samuel Adibu Asiedu, a member of the committee, from participating in the proceedings of the committee. The Chief Justice say impo yebeti na sem ne edi na sem afye say yebeyi na Chief Justice so say nyino nipa mienu bi ti committee no so a ono Chief Justice no empese on betena so pa cho ba ku ye o say fe Justice Gabriel Scott Puamang se manya name ne yam fa ncheme the chairman of the committee na ni 5-member committee the Chief Justice say on pese o betena the case no so ebiem Justice Samuel Asiedu so onhia no wo ho. It is her case that Justice Puamang is not qualified to be a chairman of the committee, owing to the fact that he had adjudicated on a number of cases and ruled in favor of Daniel Ofori, one of the petitioners. Karma. Chief Justice say, the chairman of the committee na ebe di na asem no. I di asem I a lawyer ama one of the petitioners in no Chief Justice name be pass on person any better na asem so. If I tell Kaya Fenya Markins, any speaker called Speaker of Parliament called Supreme Court no. Now one of the justices eti ho no. I a former NPP parliamentary candidate. Ewo Ho West. Was say NPP parliamentary candidate Ewo Ho Central. E sign na ye NPP chairman. Ewo Ho Central. President Akufo-Addo edene call edene be share high court. In less than 2 years, a page now from High Court straight to Supreme Court. And the speaker lawyer can't the Chief Justice says, "Sa papa we have never taken case you see. Or NPP near in any no. Ye could this asem no. Chief Justice Eya DB Pepacho yen tien sama Tsatsu Tsikata e can as at that time. Tsatsu lawyer Tsatsu Tsikata e can sembi as at that time. Pepacho yen tien ye wia me de oba ko abra speaker lawyer any Chief Justice issue Supreme Court. Subanya Chief Justice eda na di e wo ho and that same Chief Justice no ebe ka kire me ne wo say ohia obi say obetana na sem so if I choose Tsatsu Tsikata ha.
One of the aspects of what happened when the Speaker's Council went to the Supreme Court to try to set it aside, one of the aspects which again is extremely worrying is that he objected to a member of the panel, Justice Gaiwu. Now, barely had he started raising the objection, then, as we all saw on TV, the Chief Justice said, okay. And, so it's like he could not even articulate fully the grounds of his objection, except his first sentence about how Justice Gaiwu had been a parliamentary candidate or something at some point in the past. Now, there are many problems, again, with the way the Supreme Court proceeded there, because there's clear precedent that if an objection is raised against a member of the panel, that member himself cannot sit on the hearing of the objection. In other words, Justice Gaiwu, being a member of the panel which decided that he was not disqualified, is very odd. I had a case in the Supreme Court not too long ago where, on behalf of a party, I raised an objection to a member of the panel. That member of the panel happens to be the current Chief Justice now. I raised an objection. The court wanted that objection formally put. So we put it formally in writing. And the court constituted a panel which did not include her to hear the merits of that objection. And in the end, the court decided that she should be disqualified from sitting on that particular case. But in hearing the objection, she was not a member of the panel any longer. After we raised the objection initially orally, and the court asked us to put it in writing, the court was differently constituted. At that time, the Chief Justice was Chief Justice Eninyeboa. And so he excluded the person against whom we raised the objection. The same thing happened in the famous Salah case many decades ago. Everybody knows about the Salah case. An objection was raised against Justice Apalu at that time. And Justice Apalu did not sit on the panel hearing the objection. There was what was called a trial within a trial conducted to hear the merits of the objection that was put forward by the then Attorney General, Mr. Victor Usu. And in the end, the court that heard the objection heard evidence and decided that the objection should be should be dismissed. And the objection was dismissed, and Justice Apalu continued to sit on the Salah case. But you don't have the person against whom the objection is raised hearing the same matter about his own objection. Then he's being a judge in his own cause.
All right, so lawyer Tsatsu Tsikata say you cannot be a judge in your own court. And the Abra, the then minority leader, now also on person of minority leader, after your markets running to the Supreme Court. No. Justice is in a tena question, no. Speaker lawyer no raising objection say, ba kubi tikwa oinhia ne se obetena sa panel no so. Speaker lawyer no ebie na no pe Chief Justice amana nkasa kora nwie no stop here no. Me video na ma yin na ya hwe. Na abra ye ko decide say obetena so na won so no. What lawyer Tsatsu Tsikata e kan say na eni ho kwan say sa judge no esan tena sa asem no so abiem But what did Chief Justice do? She allowed that judge to sit on one the case. As the ruling by said that we obey to make the case, so continue a dia seven. And then, surprisingly, Chief Justice say, no chere say the chairman of the committee no qualify say otena so because say wadi assembly ama Daniel Ofori, one of the petitioners eda. Chief Justice say the chairman of the 5-member committee no at the assembly ama Daniel Ofori, then the Chief Justice say on penalty or better na so. I mean to also be. Or say with regard to Justice Asiedu, it is the case of the Chief Justice that he is not qualified to be a member of the committee as he was already a member of the Supreme Court panel hearing an interlocutory injunction application against the impeachment process before being appointed to the committee. And the Chief Justice say Eba Justice Asiedu Nsua, or say Justice Asiedu one of the Supreme Court judges na etna injunction application against no say or more injunctive president say Emma president enyini influence on theater say judge na be sign akoka committee no ho. Inti ene Chief Justice ne person o kire Ghana for say asem na ye di a ya friend o mediano no ono mom na ensam appointed ono ankasa nipa ohi omo committee no so but enye president. Inti Chief Justice ba Ghana pa for seeing as what goes around comes around. Well, Chief Justice thought to say, then time na did this speaker and John Mahama matem. Also, I be doing so. And then a 7 or not 10 or kind, and no be no one better than her, or no so say baby dino. Now, my man found a bra Chief Justice. Etienne, speaker lawyer, me pacho, you heard that particular video.
Also expects the court to set aside the processes and proceedings which led to
you complete the reading of SBD if you want to.
No, my lady, you said the point was made and I was bearing to it.
Very well.
Yes, so I'll do it. So the basis of paragraph 49 yes, my paragraph 49 arises from the observations made by the court before its ruling on the basis of which it made the orders. And
your paragraph 49 is premised on observations by the court
made in the course of its ruling
in the ruling of
18th October, which is sought to be set aside in this application. In the 4th page of the ruling of the court, starting from the 3rd paragraph.
Attached us.
Yes.
Attached us.
Exhibit B. There is a finding by the court that the applicant or the court observes that the applicant urges, and we appreciate that the said ruling would also likely lead to alleged thwarting of government business in Parliament and plunge the due management of the affairs of the country into possible disruptions. And so the court then, on the basis of that, makes its ruling in Exhibit A and notes that.
No, hold on.
Point also, yes.
Hold on.
Yes.
So the partisan political aspersions arise from the observation of the court on the submission of the applicant in that time.
Yes, my lord.
At that time.
Yes, my lord. Because in the ruling of the court, if my lady looks at the 2nd page of the ruling of the court, I think if we start from the court makes the same observation. Exhibit A.
Exhibit A is not the ruling of the court.
No, my lord, those portions of the submissions that were made to the court were relevant and that informed the ruling. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Yes. No, those were the proceedings.
Yes. Mr. Sorry.
So it is not. Is not the ruling of the court. So just refer us to the proper exhibit, which contains the ruling of.
Yes. So I started from the proceedings, and I'm now ending with the order. The order also the order just makes the same finding. If my lord should take a look at the paragraph that says the applicant urges the court.
Where are you reading from?
After listing the parliamentarians affected by the ruling, there's the next paragraph which starts with the set for constituencies, and then it goes on to say the applicant urges, and we appreciate that the ruling.
So you are reading from SB B.
No, just check A. The order that was sent. Yes. Yes. The cover letter is marked A, but attached to it is then the order of the court.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was taken into account before the court then makes the extensive orders relating to even 4 parliamentarians when the writ itself affected 3 parliamentarians. It didn't even include Article 97, 1 each. And so all of those orders were made based on some of those findings. And I'm saying that, and the position is that the first defendant, based on these things, expects that in order not, especially when the court reaches the conclusion that on the balance, there was no balance, there was just one side of it, because it was an ex parte application, and they were heard. What was the balancing?
Sorry.
Yes.
I thought you were just responding to a very straightforward.
Oh, yes.
Thing. But now it appears that we are veering into the substance of the motion itself.
No.
I would urge you, rather, to restrict yourself to the objection that he raised and answer it, whether it is scandalous or it's not scandalous.
It is not scandalous.
My problem is,
yes,
if your learned friend on the other side has raised these matters and you think it's not scandalous, you don't have to, as it were now, veer into the substance of the application itself.
My lord, I needed to demonstrate that these things were not just said out of any.
No, just restrict yourself to.
My lord, that's okay. I thought I was doing that.
Yes.
And so, insofar as I'm concerned, apart from the use of the word scandalous, which he just used, he doesn't demonstrate how scandalous it is based on the context of the application that I have before the court.
You allege that the Chief Justice is privy to a breach of a constitutional provision. What are you trying to convey?
It may have been by reason of inadvertence. But if that is a statement of fact,
was it necessary for you to add that in your depositions? For you, what exactly were you trying to achieve by adding the point that the Chief Justice was privy to a constitutional breach? I think that's the point it was.
Oh yes, but the point is that if she was privy to it, her ruling must reflect that. If it doesn't, it's one of the grounds upon which I'm urging the court to set it aside.
But Mr. Sorry, the ruling, if you don't mind, let me draw your attention to the fact that the ruling says that if you look at the first page of Exhibit A, we note from Exhibit B the official report on the parliamentary debates on Thursday, 17th October 2024, pages 15, 16, and 17, that the Speaker of Parliament was aware that bailiffs of the Supreme Court had served the current action on him through the legal office of Parliament. His objection to this proper service of a process from the Supreme Court was that it had not been done on a Monday.
Yes, my lady.
That's what the ruling says. So hold on, please. So the ruling was quite clear. The source of the notification.
Yes, my lady. But that's even the source.
If I could land.
Sorry, I thought my lady had finished. I'm very sorry. I thought my lady had finished. I'm honestly sorry.
Yeah. So the ruling was quite clear about the source of the observation that the Speaker of Parliament had been properly served. And the ruling appreciated the circular, administrative circular from the Chief Justice. The first Chief Justice was Chief Justice Edini Eboa in 2021, and myself issued another circular which clarified how all of Parliament was to be served. That is what you are referring to. Is that not so?
Yes, my lady.
And how does that veer into a partisan political agenda, including constitutional breaches?
The two are independent. Let me deal with the first one. My lady says the finding even by the court that it was proper service is the point we are making. That by reference even to the parliamentary proceedings that took place that day, it was clear. It is not, first of all, it's not the official report because it was just a draft one. Parliament had not yet gone through it and adopted it as an official one. But the second thing is that the court could not have found without referring to the judicial circular in which the proceedings have indicated clearly that the first defendant was objecting that it was not in accordance with that. And the plaintiff appreciated it. So that is it. And this other, with regard to the partisan aspect of it, that one is distinct. It's a distinct point, and that one is based on the submissions made to the court that, based on the assumption that if one party is the majority, it is deemed that government business will be thwarted. That's based on that assumption. Because if the Speaker's ruling state, there was nothing to show that whichever party was the majority or otherwise, government business will be thwarted. And the Constitution doesn't assume that the government in power would necessarily have majority in Parliament. So those were the issues that were raised clearly on the face of the documentation.
Sorry. Are you still addressing the preliminary legal objection raised by the attorney general, or we are dealing with a substantive matter, i.e. your motion to set aside the protest?
Oh no, I'm dealing with that matter, but I'm also responding to questions from the bench, showing why, if my lady says that it was based on the proceedings in Parliament, I'm answering that.
Kindly round up.
Yes, so my lady, there's nothing scandalous about it. They are based on matters of fact that arose out of the proceedings before the court, on the basis of which the court made the orders sought to be set aside. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Accuse that member of being, when the decision that is taken here is a collective decision by you isolate one member in your decision and accuse that member of being privy to the constitutional breach. You think that it's a proper thing for us to make?
Well, first of all, it's not a proper inference from the affidavit, because the person whose judicial the judicial circular does not make reference to the full membership of the panel. Oh yes, yes, because she was named in the circular. The rest of the panel was not named there. Yes, but I'm giving the background to that application. I'm not accusing, and to turn it into an accusation, it's not a fair inference to be drawn from the affidavit. Maybe my lord is borrowing his words, and then I have to answer.
Sorry, are you able to allow the court to tell you something?
Oh.
It's the proper practice at the bar is when the judge starts speaking, you stop. Do you not appreciate that?
Oh, my lady, I don't think my lord thought I interrupted him. I was just responding.
I beg your pardon.
Then you shall. It's a prosper. I don't think it. My lord, I don't think.
Are you able to let my lord land before you start speaking? So we can have an orderly conduct for today's present.
So that's my worry I'm discussing. Whether she knew or she don't know. I say, how your kids? And there's actually accusations across the board. You should know better.
My lord. My lord.
I would have thought that the next one thing you have done was to because what you have done is to isolate these people members of the panel and accuse them of constitutional breaches. And you know how serious that is.
Malika, can I answer? Very well. So, but I'm saying that it's not a fair inference from the affidavit, and with all due respect, we refer to a circular that had nothing to do with the panel. And so it wouldn't have been right. I would have been misrepresenting the circular if I put it in those terms.
Yes, Mr. Abedu, can we hear you on this preliminary point? He's done.
No, but is he done?
But yes, he's done.
The concerns raised by the Attorney General, and I have nothing more useful to add.
Second. Sorry.
Now, Mr. Sorry, can we hear you on your objection?
Of the president arises from some of
that, my lord, on the stream, what?
Right to my lady the Chief Justice, to him being impaneled in this matter arises from the fact that at a point in time he was known to be associated with the New Patriotic Party. And in fact, he was a parliamentary candidate in one of their constituencies in the Volta region.
I think you said enough.
Very well. And
yes.
I just want to demonstrate from, especially again.
No, I think you said enough.
From the
I think you
proceedings
said,
and the
no, I think you said enough. Kindly resume your seat.
Very well, my lady.
Let's go.
The fact that at a point in time he was known to be associated with the New Patriotic Party. And in fact, he was a parliamentary candidate in one of their constituencies in the Volta region.
I think you said enough.
Very well. And
yes.
I just want to demonstrate from, especially again.
No, I think you said enough.
From the
I think you
proceedings
said,
and the
no, I think you said enough. Kindly resume your seat.
Very well, my lady.
Let's go.
All right. It is a one who how Chief Justice a tia lawyer is on tenase. Lawyer and a raise objections. Say justice is in our town sebunkum hono. Or your MPP ni. Why your MPP parliamentary candidate on two different constituencies? Or your MPP chairman and San Obabe Supreme Court Justice or judge. It is a NPP for some about scientists has some no so enye ye. Inti anka mi be raise objection or master Chief Justice tenase. Also me nwie master was there be waka ni waka na ye tenase. It's enough. Inti wasem no kura. Then surprisingly no Chief Justice a panel justice is here nko tena sa asem na lawyer nan kan you know. Na sa Justice Gawuna san kasa san tena ono an kasa na asem so. Ikobaya is the Justice Gawu or a Ghana into it metwaso. That was the ruling now. Chief Justice then at the buy. And then surprisingly no, Chief Justice say, oh no, and TSS say, President John Mahama will be a petition against say na president as suspended no per the constitution of the country no. A empanel five member committee say yen tena sem no so na yen mobo mu say be yin na say yin no. Chief Justice asori court, Supreme Court to say, Yan can't president say president any who can say or panel say any panel say yan turn as no so. Na say president impose say president to Supreme Court ka say president endi na sem krana. Chief Justice na ya pam no say osono ma say nipa mienu bi the chairman of the 5-member committee and one justice asiedu ono no mpene say on better na sem so. You know how the system works. Karma no. The law of nature. And no, and the chief justice, and I say chief justice. And I am telling you on authority, say chief justice nankasa NPP for me no Supreme Court say nke ko to process and anyi chief justice nankasa asori ko bi. So no maame. If I tell me di William Munufi am na channel 1 hour with Munufi. Unyan subscribe here, take your time to subscribe for me. Facts and any other bro no. Chief Justice also maame nankasa asori ko Supreme Court say Supreme Court and hold to 5-member committee no say prima facie case ni di no ye be di ono ankasa na sem NPP for
Jimmy for party job.
Na odwi ho a won ti ase Chief Justice we mama hu say oye den ya obekọ Chief Justice oye den ya obekọ because you don't even qualify adena oye no Otina Supreme Court ho no decisions na odeba ya say na wa 10 no hu say na decisions no it wasn't the best. Who the decisions by ya ma the then National Security Minister ebe ka chere say Mr. Madam Chief Justice decisions na mudi free herba no a national security threat. MPP for
Jimmy for party job.
Na ene Chief Justice no obia ka je sa wo NPP ni ntina wonam ina that is why NPP for na ebo chidom ye uko do court Chief Justice lawyer na wan former Deputy Attorney General ene Attorney General na nkasa Godfrey Dame ene Chief Justice lawyer ena tuya e back Godfrey Dame Afenya Markins e back omo say yenko ni yenko ka say president kwani who kwan say we Chief Justice. Now when she was bringing these decisions lawyer Tsatsu Tsikata e the futu bi ma Chief Justice ene Ghana for say mo pacho mo yenti Tsatsu Tsikata on the GH1 this particular interview pacho yenti Tsatsu Tsikata this time round.
You know, the idea of asking for a stay of execution of a ruling of the Speaker, there is really no legal basis for a stay of execution of a ruling of the Speaker. The court, the Supreme Court and other courts, have the authority to stay execution of decisions within the court system.
Okay.
But you don't apply for a stay of execution of something.
But you tiasema lawyer Tsatsu Tsikata kan wa ha. Abra Speaker of Parliament a make statement to say those members of Parliament no across the carpet no cannot hold themselves as members of Parliament be no. Afenya Markins e gane call Supreme Court. Emma osono maame enne otien e kan say ono the ruling about if any stay of execution. They say Speaker ruling no beki no about to go. Eno na Tsatsu kire ne say there be mmeramu no stay of execution applicable to court decisions, but another arm of government. And the Chief Justice aired. But you can't the whole interview. That is the reason why a Chief Justice who said Tsatsu Tsikata bab at the one babe join petitioners in the person. Chief Justice say when you are Tsatsu ibegu. So that is the reason why a Chief Justice are you good no. Just photos. And I can say, well, you good do. But you good do. But you ain't teach Tsatsu Tsikata and Sema or Kai. Now, if you do who's the Chief Justice way or qualify as a young friend Chief Justice, and I say, young fan and quarter to bottom court to be known could assemble about your teeny.
You know, the idea of asking for a stay of execution of a ruling of the Speaker, there is really no legal basis for a stay of execution of a ruling of the Speaker. The court, the Supreme Court and other courts, have the authority to stay execution of decisions within the court system.
Okay.
But you don't apply for a stay of execution of something that happens within another arm of government, which is the arm of the Speaker. Now, the impression was given that because this is a matter for interpretation and so on, therefore you can run to the court. But again, there are clear decisions of the courts themselves, including the Supreme Court, decisions which make it absolutely clear that you don't, under the guise of interpretation, take to the Supreme Court things that are within the preserve of other courts or other authorities in the system. Very clear decisions. And I think we have to have a little law class here because, because I like some of these passages from the decisions of the Supreme Court itself, you know, to be laid out for all of us to look at, because all of us have a responsibility to protect what is in the Constitution. The Supreme Court is not a law unto itself, fortunately. Neither is the Speaker a law unto himself. We all have responsibilities. So when, for instance... Would
you then say that the Supreme Court erred in that?
Well, definitely, in many respects. In fact, as I will try to perhaps explain if there is time, it erred in multiple respects. As I said, in the first respect, just running and saying there's a matter of interpretation, therefore Supreme Court, I'm before you, is not acceptable. The courts have said in many cases, there's this case, for instance, Eduamwa and Chum, where it was stated, Aqua, the Justice of the Supreme Court, as he then was, makes the point that all courts, tribunals, institutions, and all individuals are bound by the provisions of the Constitution in the adjudication of disputes before them.
All right. So, Leonard Tsatsu Tsikata, a catch the Chief Justice then say, after your markets, it got about how also making rule of stay of execution and Merabia ni we assessor. Isaac and I can was it the law is the law. Chief Justice and I can was it the law is the law. And Merabia ni we assessor, say we Chief Justice, who bet me at now say Parliament Ashemra, all the stay of execution. I'm after your markets on from speaker say, Speaker any who can swear any away. So Chief Justice gave herself the power, be a Ghana, not a biniho. On one kasa ebe dying to say, or your lord, a be a Ghana, or Kasama, or being Kabi, or Shemra, or one kasa and Ashenembra. To me, the 2 days, panel Supreme Court. Now, if you Yashemra be a Ghana, one number and the state. In New Year, see, be say birth set any proof of ID. But birth set, not the Quay Ghana card, and now the Quay passport, a proof of citizenship, a proof of citizenship. Those things didn't even exist. But they gave themselves the power and the opportunity, and as an authority, you don't even know where they got it from. And at 10 a.m., Chief Justice then, you, me just say, oh, baby, I'm telling you, mama, when I prove it's a sign now in NPP, that is why I got for that money do it, you know. Because more called Supreme Court first, you know. So Swami, I say, MP, I couldn't feel come as a coy, you know. The same dimension didn't check, so you have to know the answer in the Supreme Court and sign the But Chief Justice, who could go when he must say, Supreme Court, because all best I could Supreme Court on the Supreme Court, no. As I catch it, I was saying, some of the banner, and yen answers, and because Godfrey, that made the care about I may catch and say, Madame, for get out. You need to be a can. It is also I the same Godfrey, that minute also come as some of I don't even know as some of our country. Yes, Priscilla. She almost sometimes. I say, "Okasa will be so Okasa but when this particular woman, is so arrogant in the country, say, no one know how to say things because Okasa now quite say Okasa Tiamba. Emi de say president wan kasa we hu awoka. Mami be so arrogant bi o Ghana. Wo de wo hwe how na ojojo speaker lawyer no. Bi na osetenase. Bi na osetenase. Say asem na wo kan kwa no. As enyenyansa asem kora ma no. That's when I do agree with you. We see the process is getting too long. That's why she's getting the nerves to talk. Yes, because my person ka President Mahama, I buy and I was a part masakil. Bye call. Within your baby, I know. Nanka rather near to Nanka Chief Justice in the moon, sorry, so court. I could see what buying and if it didn't have the obey. But I say again, and sometimes system is too low, so slow, say, hold me how I want to say. Because I penny giddy, pa, they are workers in chain. Now you're far from now, every day near one, but yet, now you're here. But you're 1 hour with the Munufi and say, oh, question be in the comment section. Mama yin discuss it. Na yenhwe. Until the latest news aba ne say Chief Justice say or no mum na kopie Supreme Court. So no ma me. Say oko Supreme Court say Supreme Court no en stop President John Mahama. Say committee ne proceedings na oye no yen stop it. Say ye beto asumpo a ono mum chere justice nipa members 5-member committee no or chere se 2 bi ma yenyi omum firim na yenkofo ono mum ni nipa meshim. Hey Ghana asemu ho o se nyankopon onye na de kwa. Chief Justice never thought to say ebe ko say yaba beto no. Tiene ogo pie Supreme Court na Supreme Court sometimes minim NPP for
Jimmy for party job. What's
your MPP again?
A Jimmy for party.
A Jimmy for party in the Anonia Dodo.
Oh, me, President Kufuor when you pass on a car.
Now, Jimmy for party now, Bulgaria, also your MPP Nino.
Oh, now some resume Jimmy.
All right. Bulgaria. Can Japan, you want to say more? Can Japan? NPP for Chief Justice. All right, I'm for 1 hour with the Munufi, but take your time. Watch all the videos on this particular channel. Now, if they M1 to us, hey, no, Bob, Charlie, easy. Chief Justice, a match is a Ghana. Of course, he should be sacked. That's honestly Samba. I say a second near bonnet on chain every day who say, Mammy on grown on count. Remember me a president and Casana Mayo. Can then somebody now pat what was a massacre? Men Casama suspended massacre. Men to committee no day to be in the sweep and ye can't some pie and can over be up be an upper faco, knife the end cancer on view. Ah, hey, even say, who does she think she is? Seriously, she is an idiot. The law is the law. Sorry to women. Of course. Yeah, no I can. The law is the law. Can the Japan the cast NPP for you idiot?
Another Jimmy, MPP for Mama Jimmy, what Jimmy Papa will stay in opposition forever. MPP for Jimmy MPP for Jimmy, me who be stupid people. I don't know why I belong to that political party. You are idiots.
Exactly. So can the Japan say NPP for idiots? Also, some of my come home. And they will Chief Justice and we're going to Supreme Court and go on. And some people are not S3. Said, that's true. What goes around comes around. Because when she was making this kind of laws, when the judgment comes from the Supreme Court, she didn't think, say, Ebekwa Babidino. In the time, Tadio sorry, Eko raised this objection against Justice Gawuno. Answer what the man who goes to Supreme Court on the same answer na ne kwa come so ye Ghana ni and our rise kwa kuduru ho and a president appointing us away justice or Supreme Court in Tibra na bebo ame until decision na Chief Justice who taking it then no expect the same decision and na no a former Attorney General Edisa MP na chi e call Supreme Court on answer na the man no don't expect a different answer and no one be say free ho aba. You take your time. Ghana na ye pimko yenim ye sise Ghana John Mahama ACC Ghana. John Mahama ACC Ghana. So Ghana is not going back. We are moving forward ever. Yapamwa. You are no more coming back again. That is something I believe. So when you want to rule a nation, a serious-minded people, any do mobile mind. In this, what one who's will be able system unqualified or can't be and temporary pack more units in change, madam, forget out. Let's move on because we need serious-minded people to rule the nations with them. And now good in everybody. All right, Ernest, me that say. I say I'm the coolest version of Kevin Taylor. Me that say. You don't say me near them, but we are me that say. I like Kevin Taylor show. Papa me share Kevin Taylor show be na papa be catch say we are temporary free man. Obi jare de na ye. Nti me de no so da me de atem beba mu no. Munya hwe. Me so nti your money that opposite direction sir. So what I say. Nti this is 1 hour with the Munufi. Me di any William Munufi amankona. On this particular show, may I take my time, analyze issues, bring out the facts. Then Mahmoud Bawumia say, "Who's your politician now? Who can't say, I somehow kind of a data, but no when your data I'm back here." That's what you're true for. So we back this particular show with data. Yeah, that talk about the how our no for this. And no, some I may catch the data now on one case to Supreme Court or it is the same data no. And you can cover the man. We are not going to change anything. Nothing is going to change. Me 100% assure says Chief Justice Naya Pamano, she's no more coming back again. To about fighter. Nail. Unyahwe. And yadi unyahwe. Or had no hoka NPP for
Jimmy for party job.
All right, this is how we do the show. I'll keep on coming 1 hour almost every blessed day. That is how I've been doing the show. And then we say more engaging from so somewhere from next week, I'll get the opportunity to accept calls and whatever. Until show, so you just tell me, I just get you on the show. Because I want to make this particular show more engaging. We are not gonna play because John Mahama we need to coach things or the bar. Say if we correct it. That is how we're gonna do this particular show because we need to fight Ghana. I see Ghana is developing. Yeah, Ghana and Chinti. Wow, we says our development we kick you out, then we move on. That's how we're gonna be. Also, they say on one who says she's not coming back. And that is why she's doing all this kind of things. She will never come back again. On paper, now they say, "Es gracia na opa." John Mahama bekasa or the bemao. Famao. Also, Mami who said Tsatsu Tsikata could pee show. So I say, Tsatsu, kaya kwawe. Another the kaya.
I will say to the people of Ghana, I'm sorry. We are sorry for the poor work we have done. We're going to go and think about ourselves.
All right, the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, should go and think about herself. She should rather tell Ghanaians that she is sorry. Godfrey Dame, so I have a problem with Godfrey Dame. Let's be serious. And then I say, he's also becoming a lawyer. He is leading it. Why? As a NPP mu assembly you find Godfrey Dame somewhere around it. Oni jumadi and I said because sometimes Godfrey Dame koyama one kasa wa down for judge out to Supreme Court or country some of the bahen yes assembly name. But okay japa uncle no. Godfrey Dame down for pa no. And so o catch the Godfrey Dame say in seminar the bahano yes assembly name. Nyansa sembia nim because other than president say or no than home oh so no my president no do buy no Ghana for to atia aba Ghana for to aba tia na buy no I been see the history of Ghana na wo kwata na ncha wo so wonko ade asempani as a by force to be person the chief justice for Ghana or me mentia say well let's assume say ya new na committee na etena ase no yes you have done nothing wrong e dey be na baba beka are you going to turn back and say to committee ni your majuma yi and answer over because or man your majuma yi And I say, my better no be my NPP for one di wechino. Do you think that Ghanaians will have the faith and the confidence in you say as a Chief Justice no or the attendant ebeba Ghana? Sometimes as people we need to sit down and think about decisions be a we NPP ni no kunye Chief Justice aya. Nobody says man NPP ni, but say we who say Ghana na dey share one sano because that position you held is for Ghanaians, not NPP. Into one when the idea of my afanyama can some ayo because Chief Justice you could have been there very quietly, but my politics and length and a share we need too much. It got to a time and after the decisions are out there, Ghanaians they didn't even have faith and confidence in the courts again. Now, Makasi Yichi Justice will feel where I say you dig it down into some courts in Ghana. Let me be a titty one. A chill monsoba. Because I have about 3 different courts in Ghana. Nipe titty one. They are problem people for the society. And personally, I'll write petition against some of them to Attorney General. I say, I call ways a court has a feniye. Will be a magistrate or court has a feniye. And yes, or the fee, rather can't end this party. No. I court about I told a lawyer today, say, I will write a formal petition against him to the Chief Justice. Or a register of one of the courts. I will bring his name, I will bring his photo and everything, and then tell the Chief Justice, I call with Iveni or in Pabonini or a Mambo 4. They are crooks in the court. We need to fish all of them out and then build a better society. Because minor John Mahama Baso Baba corrected the wrongs in the society. No, we as Ghanaians, John Mahama no deliver. That is how we want things to do. And now I was surprised and check it dollar rate. But we are dollar rate no, are dropping. I was shocked. So what a wow. And this is for boss Edmund way in. But when I quite a bit to be done some money and a woody. Quabrani bit baby. Now on I will say. John Mahama and Attorney General Myers or more Kramayan, no, to no say no. No, we will fish them out and then tell the Attorney General, say, Mr. Attorney General, I quite say, Shaha, the ceremonial woodini. When ye so one when ye are or the problem, baby. So we need to let Attorney General and the others know say there are some people, some crooks in our society. We need to push them out. Yeba Attorney General Manai Sajumano. Because Yanyan say, NDC party, Yan say, you will be about a party to see you. Dabi. Why say, party now, no. You have to find somewhere to go because we will help the president. Kwai bia ya tiwiase, tiase, as your boy president, biama president, echichire mayana Ghana for akase ene ye pen biano. We have to go about it. And we will help the president to do that. Until when you're ready, no, stay cool, stay somewhere, and then get out. We are mambo for I ain't me no chichira mine. Because me say me tana se hwe hawa John Mahama mo achichire Ghana de beduru baby e ne yaduri 4 months peno 4 months peno hwe baby a dollar rate na du. Dollar rate na ene $1 11.95. Now say what tana se Mamudu Bawumia be too futuro di gu wani. I'm surprised say even the media no create allow you Dr. Mamudu Bawumia say be ka kire. I read on the news my joy man I say for say asema Mamudu Bawumia kan no e right e dey am to mo dey mo Jimmy dey sebe. My joy for no mo ne Mamudu Bawumia kan asema you go back to cross check and know say e right and say wrong. The 8 years no be vice president and as the head of Ghana's economic management team no dey no yeah my joy for mo to report here. Sometimes the traditional media in our Ghana, they are becoming a problem for the society. Because we'll be the less than 5 months. Or 5 months into administration. Emma dollar and free 18 cities be do 11.9. Now you think say Mamudu Bawumia say na Bible report my idea. Say there's something absolutely wrong with Wagin. But if you don't agree with me, you can also tell me. Because over the last 8 years, Mamudu Bawumia would emphasize over the last 16 years, held lectures against how to stabilize Ghana's economy, how to stabilize Ghana's exchange rate and so forth. He assumed the presidency by rising to become the vice president as head of Ghana's economic management team for $1 from 4 cities to 18 cities. Lectures ningina right. And now we're in a position when he says something, then we get some people in the country to start to report, say, Asama Mahmoud Bawumia can end correct. There's something wrong with you people. There is absolutely something wrong with you. So we need to correct the wrongs in the society. We need to help the president now, Ghana for to also help him to build the better society we all want. That is how we're gonna do. NPP4. We are building the society that we all want. That is how we are moving it. So it's gradually. By the time John Mahama be in 4 years, you Ghanaians will know, say, you're so answer, but there are differences in the society. Nti Ghana Nina the best country NDC say twaso. Nti that is how we do it. Nti so be a question we be say me pacha we wait me send them in the comment section na fi dey edi nkomabom. Other than that, and I think say and name the besi wa ha ebia nyame adom ochena I'll come back. Nti Christopher Donko say God's judgment against them was carried out in 1740 BC. When the Assyrians overthrew the 10 tribe kingdoms of Israel and led its inhabitants into captivity. The Bible quotation pana dabayo. Tsatsu Tsikata wa ho. I was surprised that Tsatsu Tsikata within court equal to Bible.
I conclude with prophetic words that were spoken centuries ago. For they sow the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. These are the words of the prophet Hosea, to be found in Hosea chapter 8, verse 7. He that has an ear, let him hear.
Tsatsu Tsikata say, wow, sono, hema winti ni. Osono maame, ye ka kire say, bye bye. O mabiem, koda. Osono maame is not coming back again. So wow, down for Osono maame no pacho share kan say, madam. Na unyen to kwai ko na o as ade we can lose that. Also you are just fighting a losing battle and as a lost battle. As a Ukraine for a Russian to kwai. What losing to kwai also win jai. Also there be a bo. Anyway, 1 hour with Munufia with for I think 7 basi we had nyame ya adoma maybe your china. Eba na yasa twetwe nkomo na bom. Nti I don't want to disappoint anybody. Me say your bon nkomo no kakra. What I say? Nti mama ye monko sa na afiri ye ngo bisa cheda say send hu Ghana memfa wonsi wa na memfa mi aminu ya cheda na kwa mbidi akon osino good policies edema Ghana na policy no na ba akubi o ma na emede sa policy me ko kan bia na cheda chitafo edi matam mi hu ade ko ntem di matam ko kan bia na cheda chitafo etwabo amuni akoduru sa
ayade ba kwa mpese me yema kumase man ha se me dredge ama epo ebi aba ha na yetimi de ship ni ade so de normal ba 2024 na afi ni ebetwi container 1111 from Accra harbor edi
yara hosemo. All right, David, if you ask me, didn't William Munufia Mankana about your channel, 1 hour with Munufi. But the name is very easy. Tiana Wakaime. Munufi don't say a very, very easy name. William say a very, very easy name. And I'm Mankana say a very, very easy name. And to subscribe to the channel, so ya Yankopon ene wantina. Meda Obia Asi and bye bye.
ayade ba kwa mpese me yema kumase man ha se me dredge ama epo ebi aba ha na yetimi de ship ni ade so de normal ba 2024 na afi ni ebetwi container 1111 from Accra harbor edi aba Tema harbor edi aba kumase ebi okra etiki be 6 hours and sana container ba ko pe wadura ebi dura no so na normal be se half e wo container ni nyina ebi abubu abra we everywhere anase we nsu a within 1 hour na container 500 eduru ha say wo pese wo ship 500 so ko ba bia wa ship ko ba bi nti I'm here
akoni nyina mo wai akọ farm so mo wai apino mo wai sika na mo pe no wai sika fo na sesa mo ye no mo wai mo amakuku mo before ya no ya higher ya kasa bibia we against everything. Let's stand up and do what is positive for our people. There is poverty going on in the country. And here this year, and cross 700,000 every kroma. Vote to crime, vote to Nibi Nekono. Na Bronina or no watching on Mokon, Ufisa or Munisani Panomu Yak watching on Mako, Kojo, or Romokohi. Ye and Krana ye fris or Muniano, or be at home, or be a momu free visa. And more 10,000 pounds a month. Say be mayonnaise, a be may way. Or no crowd was seen Kurawia, why any roads in now, or one hospitals, one banks, or only be dinner. Or no crano, or toe nipa. Then Tissawa won't nipa one fananya she. Wa seno, who go to this one fan yashi was seno, who minerals no one fan yashi was seno. So be so about no Saba Yanso, Musi Debi. Now catch them some 400 billion bauxite. That's a woman Chinese phone to call Mukruma. What is the point? I was, of course, Chinese, you know, Baba Juma Ukruma. A plant now Quaco or 2 bauxite in the China, Aqua aluminium, and Masako Tono. And your plant now is auto. Nyansa wins your top. Plant now no wabi 2 bauxite now they corner. Ako China, no makoyen aluminium. We are now import yaba. One kasa material. Oh, there's a proverb, African proverb say, Nenchia, Nenitra, Nentono. Our person across the border. No, they came back as a corned beef because what? That's a cry. You couldn't yamana did not frabby be the national chance him. You need maybe an back crabby freebium. There is no more cattle that will come out of that. And to say a die, Sano Mana Yano, say, and Crofope and Omubetima by a crum, Abefa Noma, Ediaco. Yanny a mom Saquino.
Machima whom Mashe, Crofo crew, who could Dubaya, or Mukrano Crano, nay a desert, and so Mukrania, a poor abajo, or Madreje, I had about one person, Yama Kumase Maya, Semet Dreje Ama, a poor Ebiabaha, near timid ship near the Aden so the Nomaba, 2024, nothing arbitrary container, 1111 from Accra Harbour, Edia Ba Itema Harbour, Edia Bakumase.